Here we are, doing the Templar skills. You probably never thought this day would come, either did I, but I'm excited to do these. Templar is really unique. It has one of the only skill healing lines in the game. It also has some really cool abilities with Blazing Shield and Repentance. Overall, it's a decent class, probably the weakest out of the four to be honest, unless you're a healer or a tank, but it really fits my playstyle with stamina regeneration. So let's talk about these skills. The Adric Spear line is probably the Templar's strongest of the three. It has great crowd control, a leap, and tons of AoE damage. Consider taking and trying all these skills, at least while you're leveling up, because it's a great tree line. The first ultimate, Radial Sweep, I took the Morph Crescent Sweep. Basically this does a whirling holy blade, if you will, around you in a radius. Crescent Sweep adds some more damage to enemies in front of you, and I like this out of the two. Since I don't play tank, Empowering Sweep, which reduces the damage taken for each enemy hit, doesn't seem like a good choice for my character, though both are good. The low cost makes this, you can use this ability often, so it's a good ultimate starting out. Puncturing Strikes is the next ability, which I took Puncturing Sweep Morph. It's basically a 4-strike ability in front of you that's channeled that gives extra damage to the target initially hit. It's not a bad AoE, but the Puncturing Sweep Morph allows you to heal based on the damage done, which really, for soloing, can help a lot. Biting Jab is good because it crits when enemies are lower health, but for me, if I'm soloing or leveling, Puncturing Sweep's the morph I like. Piercing Javelin is the Templar's default knockback. It throws a spear, knocks back enemies, and does a decent amount of damage. I take the Binding Javelin morph, which increases knockdown duration, over the Aurora Javelin, which does increase damage based on the distance. I use this ability to cast while I'm kiting or using a bow. I don't really need it for damage, so Binding Javelin works for me. Focus Charge is the Templar's leap into combat ability. I like the Toppling Charge of Morph because it always stuns the captor and sets them off balance. Explosive Charge is the other morph, which does a lot of AoE damage on impact, but usually the enemies are spread around to start off a fight, so I don't like this morph, and I don't want to depend on magic for damage, as I'm a stamina wielder. The Toppling Charge is a great morph if you don't want to use Critical Rush with a two-hander, but need a leap. One of my favorite Templar abilities, Spear Shard. Places a radius up to 28 meters, throws a spear, disorients one target, does some damage, and even allies can pick up a spear, granting them stamina regeneration over 10 seconds. This is the default group utility for a tank or DPS. I like the Blazing Spear morph because I play DPS and it always stuns them, gives me some decent damage, and I still get the synergy. Though Luminous Shards for healers, even maybe tanks, might be a better choice. Sun Shield is one of those abilities you do not want to see an opponent using in PvP. It creates a damage shield based on the max health that you have, lasts 6 seconds, then explodes and deals damage to nearby enemies. Blazing Shield is the morph that I take because it deals damage based on the amount absorbed. So if you're always getting attacked, this is a great ability to use in PvP or PvE. Radiant Ward, it just strengthens the shield a lot more. Since I don't play tank, don't like this too much, I really like Blazing Shield. Next skill tree we have up is Dawn's Wrath. This is probably the most problematic of the Templar skill lines. It was meant to be like a utility, half-hearted DPS, and I don't think it did either well. While there is a couple really good abilities, it's not as good as the other ones in my opinion. One of the coolest looking and most powerful abilities in the game, Nova, an ultimate in this tree, deals 30% less damage while you're in the area and deals damage over time. It's like a standard for the Dragon Knight basically, and allows an activation of a Synergy Supernova. Default, it's really powerful, though it takes a lot of cost. I like the Solar Prism morph because allies may activate another synergy that stuns everyone. It's great for PvP, though the cost really makes it somewhat cumbersome. Next ability up is Sunfire. It's a single target 28 meter range fire damage dot snare. It's pretty good if you're wielding a bow and want to kite enemies, though I haven't found a good combination to make it really put out the damage. Vampire's Bane is a good morph. It deals damage over time, so you can combine this with a bow or snipe to really whittle down a target. Reflective Light, that morph affects multiple targets, so if you want to build up ultimate faster, I would go with that one. I like Vampire's Bane when I'm wielding a bow, as I like to whittle down targets. Solar Flare is the next ability, and it's basically buffs your next attack. So you cast this at range, it's channeled, and your next ability gains a significant amount of damage. The two morphs are very different. Solar Barrage makes it no cast, but it deals damage around you for AoE. So if you're a melee character like I am, I take this morph. Dark Flare, however, is great for bow users and PvP because it debuffs their healing they can receive. Combine Dark Flare with Lethal Aim to really shut down someone's healing. Next ability up, Backlash, I found very underwhelming. I couldn't really figure out a way to use it. It essentially target an enemy, stores up damage taken, and then ends and gives them back 33% of the damage inflicted. It lasts for 6 seconds, and I just don't see this as very valuable because you have to cast it and sit there while you could be doing DPS. If I were to take a morph, I'd take the Purifying Light because it heals allies in the area, though I'm not really happy with this ability. Eclipse is essentially a target reflect ability for 4 seconds. It's not the best reflect in the game since you have to target a person to use it versus Harness Magicka or Dragonfire Scales, which AoE, anyone attacking you gets reflected. I take the Unstable Core morph because it deals damage to nearby enemies and it generates some ultimate. Blinding Light is a really cool ability that sets enemies off balance when they try to attack you. This is great for soloing or PvP. Once you morph it to Blinding Flashes, it applies to all nearby enemies in a radius. I like this because it's for 6 seconds and you'll be laughing watching people stumble over themselves trying to attack you. The Searing Light morph adds damage, but I don't really use it for that. I use it for AoE defensive, so I stick with Blinding Flashes. The Restoring Light tree is what really separates the Templar from other classes because it's the only class-specific skill line focused on healing. It has some of the best healing, purging, and doing anything centered around healing in the game. The ultimate Rite of Passage heals nearby enemies while you channel this ability. I've used this before, but I don't like it over the PvP ability Barrier as much because I think that for an ultimate is the best heal. If I were to take a morph, I'd use Remembrance as allies take less damage while you're channeling this, but I hate standing around not doing anything casting, so this is an ability that I use. Next ability is probably the most important heal in the game, Rush Ceremonies. It heals nearby wounded allies for a certain amount. The heal goes off to the lowest enemy, so it's really the only targetable, if you will, heal in the game. There's two morphs and they're very different. I like Honor Dead for solo because it restores magic when an enemy is healed below 50%. So if you're soloing, that's a great heal. Breath of Life, however, heals up to 3 targets and it's really, really strong. So if you're a healer or you just want some more group utility, probably should choose Breath of Life. Healing Ritual is another ability I didn't find very effective. Here's why. You have to stand in the big red circles, casting this, channeling, and people are dying all around you. I find the restoration staffs way better to just place a healing springs or a mutagen or rapid regeneration than sitting there channeling this. You can try it out. I would take Lingering Ritual if I were to take a morph, but I haven't found this to be too effective. Next up, Restoring Aura, one of the most interesting and fun abilities in the game. By default, it's just a passive stamina and health regeneration, and you can cast it to basically buff your nearby enemies. I take the Repentance morph, which is really strange. It has no cost. It consumes corpses to heal yourself and your allies and give you back stamina. It is just crazy using this ability. I don't see how anyone could take Radiant Aura when you have so many corpses in long fights. You basically can keep yourself full just by killing enemies. You must try Repentance because it is one of the funnest abilities out there. Next up is Cleansing Ritual. I take the Purifying Morph. What this does is it instantly removes a negative effect from yourself and has a couple additional effects removed. This is like one of the only purges in the game. So if you have a dot, like a fire damage, it allows you to use a synergy if you're an ally in the area to purge yourself. It's really a must-have for Templar healing, considering dots are really hard to get rid of in this game. Next up, we have Rune Focus. I didn't find this very useful because I don't like standing in one circle at a time, though Estelden, my buddy, really likes this. I take the Channeled Focused Morph because it gives magicka back while you're standing in there. Like I said, I can't find this very useful. I like the Fighter's Guild ability better, Ring of Preservation, but if you like standing in circles and tanking, this might be for you. So that was the Templar and all of its skills and glory. What'd you think? Leave me a comment, feel free to subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Now that all the classes are done, what I plan on doing is going through and trying new unique builds for different situations. First I'll be doing a PvP build, then probably a DPS, healing, something like that for PvEers. And just trying to keep these updated as best I can. As always, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more information.